Hey everybody, Max here, and today I'm going to be looking at the Marvel Legends CROSSFIRE figure. I don't know why it's called Marvel's CROSSFIRE. Are there a bunch of other CROSSFIREs out there? Is there a DC CROSSFIRE? I don't know, you tell me. But I'm going to be looking at this guy. This is one of several figures I picked up at Ollie's recently, so you can get this guy at Ollie's for about $10. And I will be honest with you, other than the gun and the head sculpt, this figure is mostly trash. I am not going to give it a great review. Um, it's just not good. The head sculpt is great. The rifle is actually very solid. It's got a lot of detail. It's not gummy. It comes with a blast effect and a smoke effect, and that's pretty cool. But some of the paint apps are okay, but the figure itself, the buck that it's on, is just trash because it just doesn't fit. It's not right. It needs a butterfly joint. You can't, believe me, I tried to get this guy to pose with the sniper rifle up to his eye, and it will not go without a butterfly joint, and it has two horizontal hinged trigger hands. It doesn't have vertical. You'd need that. So this was not a very well thought out figure. So, which is sad because I liked the character. He's a Hawkeye villain. I wouldn't mind seeing him if we'd actually gotten a good Hawkeye show, like at multiple seasons with Jeremy Renner. I think this would have been a great figure or a character to introduce, into the MCU, and we could have gotten an MCU version of him. I think that would have been great. He was an interesting looking character in the original Hawkeye miniseries back in the 80s where he and Mockingbird got together. But that's about it. I'm sure he's probably been in other series over the years. He's kind of an obscure villain. I don't know. Is there anybody out there that is a Crossfire fan? Or do you keep up with him? do you know his history? How many times has he gone up against Hawkeye? Is he just been one of those background villains? I don't know. I just thought he looked cool, and he was in that miniseries, and that's one of my favorite. I love Hawkeye, and it's a great miniseries, so check it out if you're into it. Like I said, well, let me just go over the accessories. He comes with 2 fists and 2 trigger hands, and they're just flat black plastic. Nothing special. A black smoke effect. So I guess he's using black powder in his sniper rifle. Nothing we haven't seen before. Strap, I don't plan on using this. It's interesting. I mean, I might use it for maybe a classified weapon, but we'll see. I mean, it is what it is. The rifle, as I said, is pretty solid. Blast effect fits in there really nice. It comes out, it's straight, not warped. The rifle is not warped either. It's got a little flexibility, but it's not warped. It was not in a cardboard sleeve or anything like that to keep it straight. It was just in there in one of these pouches. But the magazine does not come out, but it still has a lot of detail on it, and it's pretty cool. And unfortunately, it fits in his hand, but it doesn't. You can't really make him look like he's sniping anybody with it. So I'm going to try this weapon in a Action Force figure's hand, or maybe classified, and see what it looks like. I'm sure this guy, you could take some other, he'd probably do fine with some pistols in his hands, and maybe you could do a little customization, give him some holsters or something. But the head sculpt is great. I like it. That's about the only thing really going for it, that and the rifle. But it has disc hinge articulation. It's got a gap right here when he looks down, but it's not that big a deal. But he's got really good range of motion in the neck. He can go all Exorcist on us and a little side to side. But I like the paint on his little bullseye crosshair eyepiece is really cool. he looks like the Marvel character. I don't have any complaints. Honestly, I might try to customize, maybe put him on a different body and, dye it or paint it or something. Or I may just take the head off and repaint it and put it on like a Cobra figure or something like that. A figure that has a butterfly joint where I could actually get a decent, sight picture, let's say. I think this body may be the Hatut Zarazi, and I bought two of those, not really knowing anything about them. I thought they looked cool, and I bought two of them at Ollie's last year, early this year, and they were warped. The legs were warped, very, very flexible, very gummy plastic in the knees, as well as in the elbows. I mean, you can see a gap. Let's see, I hope you can see that. There's a gap right there where the pins just, they're just not tight enough. And, they're just, the butterfly joint in the T-pose is good. Well, there is no butterfly joint, I'm sorry. I keep saying butterfly joint instead of bicep swivel. Bicep swivel is good. So I can see this body being great if it was pinless and if they added a butterfly joint. But alas, there is no butterfly joint, and I just have to make do. It's got good waist articulation. A lot of people hate that. I don't mind it. Old school. And the ab crunch, he bends forward. He has pretty good range of motion right there. So the torso is nice. Yeah, the look of it, like I said, if it was just pinless, I'd have no problem. I bet it would be a much more solid figure. And it looks like there isn't enough space. And that was kind of my complaint on the Hatut Zarazi figures, that they could tool this out and put a butterfly joint in there. Maybe just kind of cut out around the chest, maybe a little bit around the back, and then just, yeah. I mean, it just looks like it was meant for a butterfly joint, and it just doesn't have one. So as a result, it just kind of looks choppy, I guess, right around in there. Belt, the belt does float. It's not glued on. You can move it up and around if you wanted to have it up here so it didn't interfere with the rotation. But, thigh swivel, no, hardly any splits at all. It doesn't have drop down, which of course I'm typically not a fan of, but this is pretty bad. And you may see some water coming out of the joints here and there. I did give him a hot bath to get the legs to straighten out. So it was a little warped, and it looks better now, but it's still, woo, yeah. So old technology. He kicks back that far, which isn't great. Has a boot swivel, but you got to be careful about, where you hold it to use it, because you will twist and possibly warp the knee joint, which sucks. And like I said, I think this is the Hatut Zarazi body, and which was probably designed, the ankles in these boots. He's got these really thick ankles, and these feet just, they just don't look right. They look like he's wearing clown shoes or something. They're so thin right here. I mean, it just, the look of it, the way I'm looking at it, it looks like it's in proportion, but on camera, it looks like clown shoes. And just kind of the way they're shaped, they just don't fit. And it makes me wonder if the kind of clawed-toed feet that came with this Hatut figure, it looks better, but he's got these honking huge ankles. And I think different feet would be better. It's good range of motion, don't get me wrong. I mean, I just think he needs better feet. Something that looks a little more combat, themed, I suppose. Maybe with laces or with some tread on the bottom, something like that. But I took a chance, spent $10 and picked him up, and he's going to go on my villain shelf next to all my other villains. But he is what it is. I don't know. Maybe he's not worthy of the villain shelf. Maybe he's just custom fodder. I will see how I can use some of these parts. But I hope, if you're watching this, I hope you didn't spend $20, $25 on this guy. He's not worth it. I'm honestly kind of wishing I hadn't spent the $10 on it. I'd give him, I'd pay $5, but holy moly. But anyway, I've talked for 10 minutes on this guy that I don't really like. So I'm going to give him a warp factor of, well, I'm going to give him a warp factor of 5. And that's probably being generous, just because of the joints and everything and the lack of thought that went into producing this, I think. So yeah, warp factor 5. I will say this, that the paint is fairly solid around the figure, except for on the shin boot area. But other figures that have had white stripes, you can tell they skimped and didn't give it another pass. And this one they at least did. So that's got that going for it. So warp factor 5, let me know what you think in the comments. Do you have him? Are you going to go out and get him? Are you a customizer? Are you going to use this guy for custom fodder? You know, throw his head on a Cobra figure or something like that. So yeah, warp factor 5. I'll talk to you guys later. Take care.